Oh,
Oh, should I push okay for the content of this meeting being sent to a third party window?
I think so. I think it's just getting everybody's permission. Usually it says this meeting is being live streamed, but now suddenly, as of today, it says this thing about a third party or whatever. Zoom is always changing. And oh, which reminds me, if you wouldn't mind, raise your Zoom hand, which could be under reactions, but it could also be its own um, icon in the weird. Nikki raised hers. Hi, Nikki. Okay, I think everybody's listening to me. Actually, I just wanted Breena to do it, but that's okay if everybody else does it. Okay, Breena's got hers. Awesome. Okay. Um, I may lower some, but Breena, the one thing to know, and then I'll start, is that if it gives you a little message, and this is totally enervating, if it gives you a little message that says, hey, it looks like you're not talking anymore, I'm going to go ahead and lower your hand, which is annoying.
Oh,
Try
okay.
and catch it and say cancel or do not lower or whatever. And the reason is that sort of keeps you up in the grid. Anyway, so it's 7 o'clock my time, 4 o'clock your time, and so we'll start. Uh, okay, I'll share my screen and then we'll start. Oh, see, Brina just lowered your hand. Did you catch it?
I did, yeah. So should I
Try
just try to keep that hand icon on?
if you wouldn't mind. It'll come in really in handy later in the call, but if we can't get it to work, it'll be fine.
Mhm.
It's really, I don't know how to turn that little auto thing off, but you can manage it while I do this. Anyway, let's see if I can find our slides. Okay, here we go. Welcome, everybody. Oh, wait, you know what? Wait a second. Um, I'm going to start recording. There we go. Now let's start. And welcome, everybody. It's Friday night here in East Coast of America. It's Friday afternoon on the West Coast, but it might be Saturday morning where you are. It might even be super late Friday night where you are. Um, Either way, we call it the Friday Night Workshops and welcome. So you're here at Sequential Artists Workshop. We are a 501c3 nonprofit with online courses that you can find at learn.sawcomics.org. Thanks for being here. We've got some new courses coming up in the winter that you can go find out at learn.sawcomics.org, such as a really in-depth memoir course with Beth Tremblay, nonfiction with Jess Rollifson, Procreate for Comics with Lee Dietrich, and some more. Next week in this slot in Friday nights, we're going to have Georgia Weber. It's a few days before Christmas. Georgia thought she would help get us out of the doldrums if you're having doldrums. Anyway, that's course, Jess's course, Elise's course. We'll move on. Check out some of what we're doing at seesawcomics.org as well. It's sort of our Instagram alternative. And thanks everybody who has donated, especially if you've donated to tonight's workshop. That helps keep these workshops free for everybody and it helps us pay the instructors. There's lots of ways to contribute. You can pay Palace or find us on Patreon. I'll put those links in the chat. You can also become a sustaining donor, and there's an option for that. I'll put that in the chat as well. We really appreciate it. And those donations are tax deductible. So tonight, please, no inappropriate speech or imagery. Keep it PG-13, please. No trolling, hate speech, etc., etc. And share what you do tonight on Friday Night Comic or hashtag Friday Night Comics. You can tag us at Comics Workshop and Brina's hashtag or tag sign I'll put in the chat as well because I actually don't know how to pronounce it. I meant to ask her, but I didn't get around to it. So enjoy. And Brina, I'm so happy you're here, and I'm so glad to finally get a chance to talk. And I'm really interested in migration stories tonight. So I'm going to stop sharing, and you can also tell us how. And I'm going to spotlight you. You can also tell us how to pronounce the it, your Instagram handle. It's Breenake or Breenash.
It's been called a lot of things from different people, but it's pronounced Brinache.
Oh,
It,
Brinache. Okay. Well,
yeah, it's a nickname my grandfather used to call me when I was small. So it's
lovely. I'm gonna put it right
something
in.
that just stuck with me.
Of course, it would have been that. I should have guessed, but I'm sorry. Anyway, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be summarizing things that you're saying in the chat, and for people that respond that way. But otherwise I'll be muted and off. But anytime you need something, let me know.
Cool.
Thanks
Thank
for
you,
being.
Tom. Yay. I love these workshops. So I just am really privileged to be like sharing space with all of y'all tonight. As someone who probably participated for maybe like two or three of these workshops, it's been, I don't know, it's just a really great space to be a part of. So thanks again, Tom, for the invitation. I'm gonna just share these slides that I whipped up for y'all. So I'll just be a moment. I'll briefly introduce myself and share some pieces that I'm known for as a cartoonist slash zinester. And is the slideshow coming in clearly?
Yeah, it looks great.
All right, thank
Yep.
you. So yeah, hi, my name is Breena Nuñez. Calling in from San Francisco, California, Yalamu territory of the Ohlone Ramaytush people. And yeah, as you could see, I'm like a sleep-deprived new parent of a very active and bouncy 16-month-old. That's me laying on the floor with our daughter, my daughter Miela, sweet person. And on top of being a parent, I've been a cartoonist, I would say, since like circa 2015, maybe a little earlier than that. I was mostly uh, self-identifying illustrator slash graphic designer, but I would say for the longest time I was always a closeted cartoonist. But I first started making mostly like zines, a little bit of like just her zines, mostly text heavy content rather than illustrations. But the illustration zines or per zines came a little bit later because at the time when I was doing zine fests, I noticed I didn't see a lot of representation of Central American people. As you could see, I'm of mixed heritage. I'm half Guatemalan and half Salvadoran. I'm like one and a half generation Central American hyphen American because both my parents have very different migration experiences and different experiences with also being acculturated into the United States or US culture. So I usually do like single panel like comics, sort of influenced by like stuff that I've seen maybe in the New Yorker or Family Circus. Um, yeah, I think because it's just easier for me to like come up with the image in my head and just draw a caption. And I made these single panel comics when I was in grad school at CCA for the MFA in Comics program. And some of y'all might know I'm married to Lawrence Lindell, and I feel like Lawrence really influenced my workflow to some degree. Like every time we would be touring together to different festivals, I would just feel like motivated to just draw something really quick with more confidence over the years. So um, the the portrait on the left is supposed to be me representing the thing that I take most pride in with being half Guatemalan. And to me, that I think about color and all of that stems from indigenous textiles like huipiles. And I had this really bomb jacket that I found at a thrift store that had some original textiles on it. And the caption I wanted to summarize about being proud of my Guatemalan heritage is that I enjoy decorating myself with bright colors and patterns. And the illustration on the right is from the Being Half Salvi, um, uh, the first issue of Being Half Salvi, and something that we're known for, but I feel like a lot of other countries in Latin America are known for as well, is having a huge affinity for cumbia. And this is like the only like dance that I feel the most confident in. Like my other family members can probably dance salsa a lot better than me, but this is like the easiest like form of dance that I'm able to like participate in. And I love the music as well. So as you could see, I do a lot of comics too about identity. The one I probably am known for as like a journalist, um, cartoonist slash journalist person is I Exist. That was my first comic that I was able to contribute to the NIB back in 2020 for Black History Month. And this was actually a zine first before it became a comic. And I'm glad it was a zine first because I was trying to use zines to also find ways to articulate like this curiosity I have around Blackness in El Salvador and wondering why I was racialized as a Black person in the US, despite the fact it's like a really unpopular thing to talk about. And we often see people negating Blackness despite people being racialized in El Salvador and in across the diaspora. Um, and this is just like a map also highlighting the Afro descendant diaspora, Black Latin Americans from different parts of Central America as well. And as you could see, El Salvador, it's like the tiniest country out of all of these other nations in Central America, but we're probably the loudest ones to speak about Black people never existing, despite the fact it was Black and Indigenous labor that built the country, as well as other parts of Latin America. And yeah, I think I also reflecting on trying to figure out like which pieces to include in this like introduction. I realized I read a lot about Salvadoranness because I wasn't always proud of being Salvadoran growing up, especially with being a child that came after the Civil War. So it took me years to kind of reconnect to um, that part of my heritage and being more curious as I bonded more with my dad's side of the family and hearing the way they speak about El Salvador and also about the heartache that comes with migration and being separated. But at the same time, there's multiple things that exist, like the homesickness, but also like you've been able to like make this journey to the United States to fulfill this dream that you had. And at the same time, it's beautiful to hear that my family still has really, really fond memories and just an abundance of love for their homeland. So this is sort of like an unpublished comic that I wanted to share too that would set the tone for tonight's workshop. I wanted to just be really experimental with the way I wanted to depict my family's migration stories, their relationship to land, and also like my relationship to traveling and also not being someone who's settled in one place. I I say that like I'm from the Bay Area. I don't really have a specific city that I claim, although my spouse would tell me like I'm very San Francisco because I was born here and I would always come back here with my family. But I grew up not being settled in one place. So we were always moving in different parts of the Bay Area, mostly on the west side. So there's also like this idea that home is like a place where it's just going to follow me wherever I am and wherever I find community. So if there are other like people who are familiar with like maybe the artistic influence on these two panels, I'll show in the next slide who the influence is actually. But I like using local art from El Salvador specifically, and some of this is inspired by some abstract illustrations I came up with when I went to my mom's country, Guatemala, and I had this like beautiful experience of like seeing the moon, like just the moon like rising from one end of this lake called Lake Atitlan and just like traveling all across the other side. I don't know, I have something about sleep deprivation and wanting to witness beautiful like natural things. So the night sky has also been really influential in my work too in the past. So I like to use these like local pieces of artwork to kind of contextualize um, who's doing the migrating, who's doing the moving or the traversing to settle into a new place, and what are pieces of home that still remain with my family. And for my family, speaking more specifically on Salvadoranness, my influence for a little while now has been Fernando Yort. He is someone who has been nationally recognized in El Salvador for making this very popular artwork that's all over, like on souvenirs, on people's t-shirts, towels, what have you. And on this cathedral over here that's located in the capital city, San Salvador. And I think if memory serves me right, I think this actually doesn't exist anymore. I think it was taken down several years ago. I'm not sure why, but I wish that wasn't the case because it's such a beautiful piece of artwork. And I'm really drawn to Fernando Yort's work because it offered me something like really playful, also very, I would say, comic like aesthetics as well. His work is really graphic, and I would always share this with my race and comic students on how he might be not using comic in like the ways we understand graphic narrative, but um, what he does so well is like using artwork to archive daily life in El Salvador, specifically with indigenous people and their relationship to the land. So
Mm.
um, that was also kind of my way to reconcile with the internalized xenophobia that I had growing up and seeing this really beautiful piece of artwork that's actually showcasing like um, the the beauty that comes from again this part of my heritage.
Mm.
So I can stop lecturing for a minute and get on to the prompt. So we're going to make a 4-panel comic together, and I guess we'll spend like maybe about like a couple of minutes on each slide. Let me just get to my sheet of paper over here. Also be drawing live with y'all too. So for your first panel, um, feel free to answer any of the following questions with words and images. If you just want to do only images, feel free to do that. I'm also about people breaking conventions, so feel free to make this comic however you want to. So the questions are where's your family's first home? What did that place look and sound like? And if like if your family like stayed within like the same like within the same borders, within the same like region or county, like I would, feel free to like include those stories as well. Because again, my personal like relationship to um, the Bay Area is like I never really like settled in one place as well. We were always moving. So feel free to also include those narratives as well if you want to stay even more local to your location.
Mm.
Let's see. Um, but yeah, I guess I can answer any questions if folks have questions too. I realize I might have talked really quickly through all of those slides.
No, should we just dig in? If so, I've put what you wrote on this slide into the chat so you could move away from the slide so that we could see your drawing if you like. But if there's more slides, we can hang on too. Um, what do you think you're gonna draw? Do you have an idea already, or are you just gonna sort of dig in and give it a
Yeah,
shot?
I'm just gonna just dig in with the
Oh
rest of
yeah.
everybody.
And you've got, since you're talking about, half Guatemalan, half El Salvador, are you gonna, which, do you even know which side you're gonna start with?
Let's see.
Or San
Um,
Francisco?
yeah, or even San Francisco. That's a good idea too. Um, I think I think I'll do that. I think I'll start with San Francisco because um, for both sides of my family, they actually arrived to the same like neighborhood, like the Mission District
Hmm.
in San Francisco. And for folks who might not know, it's the Latino district of the city. And yeah, my mom came when she was very young, like, well, not too young, but 12 years old. So she was more acculturated into American culture. My dad came when he was like a young man, like in his early 20s, I would say. So
Um,
yeah, I think I'll talk about
if
San
it's
Francisco.
okay, I'm gonna remove the main slide, and so we can have your drawing larger. Okay, I think I can do that here. Um, oh, I think I can just have to figure it out. I'm gonna do this, and then I do that. Okay, there we go. Great. So 4 panels, few minutes per panel, and
Mhm.
and I'm gonna ask people in the chat to tell us something about your heritage or where your family is from or where you're from. If you're like me, you don't know and nobody ever talked about it. But I bet that's not true of most people. So I'm going to put that in the chat. I love that style that you were copying from Federico Yort. Is that the name?
Oh, Fernando.
Fernando Yort. And is that come easily now? It seemed like that was kind of that it's something you've integrated into your own style a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that was really intentional um of his artistic style. Um just to make it really accessible. Because it's yeah, I would say it's a really minimalist approach. And I think that's why I like it too, because I tend to be really minimalist myself with my cartooning style.
Very geometric too, right? Like a lot of angles and sharp edges and things, even though they're
Hmm.
containers for little characters and stuff.
Absolutely. So I'm gonna try to draw some hills in Fernando Yort style to also kind of like again pay homage to that part of my family's story.
So some people in the chat are saying my parents were both Jews born in Poland before World War II. Somebody uh somebody from in the United States right now in graduate school was born and raised in Kenya. Um, Apartment building in the Bronx. My mom's side of the family immigrated from Honduras. Mom's family immigrated from Latvia after World War II. This is great. It's such wonderful.
Wow, so many stories.
Yeah. Alun and I are sort of in the same boat where we have no idea. Nobody ever talked about it. Mexican farm work. Oops, I'm the chats. Mexican farm workers and Chinese immigrants together. My current
Awesome.
Vegas. Awesome. Small town in Iowa. Same family home my entire life. All these stories are great stories.
They are. Even if like people don't know um where their ancestors came from, like that's a totally valid thing too. There's a lot of things that I still don't know about about my family's history, but you can also talk about um just like where you personally have called your first home.
Family emigrated from Moldova when we were little. Second generation Polish Italian in Brooklyn. I didn't know that, Walter. Anabaptist, Prussia, Ukraine, Midwest, San Joaquin Valley. That's a bunch. Oh, displaced during the partition in India, Pakistan, 1947, Bangladesh. Wow. Yeah. Asmita, please draw that story. Oh, Ireland during the Troubles. That's what they call it, right? With a sort of a capital T. Wow. Jess, thank you. Sarah says, I'm visiting parents this week. They didn't want to participate, so I'm starting my comic from where we lived when I was a toddler.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think I'll write a caption over here too, just really quickly. I'm pretty messy with my process.
I love how effortlessly you drew that strange little landscape, beautiful little landscape.
Yeah.
It's a little
I
bit
think,
sci-fi.
yeah, I think what I try to focus on for these types of experimental comics is just like really obvious landmarks or things that describe home.
Hmm.
For me, for San Francisco, it's just like how hilly it is. And
Oh,
there's like this radio tower that's pretty iconographic. But I always forget the name of it. Um, I'm just gonna do a little bridge for the Golden Gate Bridge over here. Very scratchy, but it's okay. I think everybody could know or understand. But it's the bridge. And something I also like about Yortu is just these little roads that he kind of adds um, into his artwork, like these checkerboard bars. I'm not sure what the significance is, honestly, but
you
I
know, I
just
saw.
personally think it's. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I personally like the. I just like that pattern. I feel like it kind of modernizes the look.
When I first saw it in your drawings, I thought, oh, she's drawing New York taxi cab checkerboard. And then I saw it just a few slides ago, in his artwork, and then I saw, oh, that's where it's coming from. I'm going to read what Marlene said. I come from South Africa, born to parents of color during apartheid, 1948 to 1989.
Wow.
My life era was called the struggle, according to Nelson Mandela, who was imprisoned with relatives of mine at Pollsmoor prison in Cape Town.
Oh,
Communities were segregated by the color of their skin. It was a bit of hell growing up with fear.
mhm.
Wow.
Thank you for your vulnerability.
And okay, yeah, a couple people are saying time check. I'm getting lost in just reading from the chat. So I'm sure it's been a few minutes for panel one, but we're all sort of mesmerized by your drawing. And is there some people would love a prompt for the panels, but sometimes
Oh,
I
yeah.
know that's not necessarily the direction the instructor wants to go. Um, maybe I don't know, maybe you can tell us what you're going to do for panel two and we'll go from there.
Sure. Let me just read what I was gonna share. For the second panel, what were some factors that made you or yourself, sorry, what were some factors that made your family or yourself move away from your home?
Right. And that's it. I just put that in the chat. And also people are saying it's the Sutro Tower, the one you just drew.
Thank you. Yeah, I should know that by now. In my mind, I always want to call it the Coit Tower, but that's a completely different tower.
Sarah says, this is bringing up for me, where does family start? That's a great question.
Mm.
As far back as
Ooh.
you can manage, I guess, right? So I'll keep us on. Oh, look at that. You're just going to be drawing San Francisco all day because it's such a great city to draw, you know.
I think I'll just add a bit of fog for us and just quickly hop on to the next guy, the next panel.
Nancy says, Dad immigrated from Finland as a baby. Mom was orphaned in Utah during the Depression. She and her brothers raised themselves more or less. Man,
Wow.
it's going back, a couple generations, and the stories of hardship are so intense. And
They
now here we
really
are,
are.
all on Zoom, you know.
Okay. It's like,
And Susanna, who has been to many of our workshops, is here with her mother today from Des Moines. Grew up in Nebraska. Susanna, we didn't know that. Anyway, let's keep moving. Jillian wants to know what kind of pen you're using, Breena.
I'm using let's see, a zebra pen. I forget the type of tip I'm using, like the size, but I would say it's like a medium size felt brush tip. Let's see. So for the second panel, I think because my family, it was mostly for economic reasons, to just to live a more sustainable life. I think I'm gonna try to draw something a little silly, maybe like Scrooge McDuck style, like bag of money. Let's see, like sitting on a pile of gold.
Closeted cartoonist, you said, and now totally, totally out. Once you start drawing Donald Duck and Uncle Scrooge, you are no longer a closeted cartoonist. I'll write down what we put for panel one as well, in case people missed it.
And maybe a white picket fence too.
Yeah, you really got that San Francisco fog. Wow.
I try. Yeah, sometimes like I would what's I gonna say? Yeah, like even just like studying the fog, like I see it so often, but like it took me years to really feel confident about the way I try to like make it seem a little bit more tangible in comic form
Hmm.
or believable, I should say. Let's see. Just quickly draw some. Maybe I'll also include the Salesforce tower since that's kind of like our current like or I associate it with like um just like wealth in San Francisco
Mm,
and some towers or some skyscrapers from downtown. Okay.
San Francisco has changed so much. Is it still, where your parents wound up? Is it still, can they still support themselves there? I mean, is it still that kind of place or is it changed drastically?
So that's the thing. We didn't stay, my family didn't stay in San Francisco because it was pretty expensive city, or it still is.
Yeah.
And they also wanted just to have us like live in a what they would consider to be like a safer place. So a lot of people that I know too, whose parents also came to similar neighborhoods like the Mission, they eventually moved south to the suburbs where there's still predominantly like migrant communities um, from East Africa, the Philippines, Latin America, and different parts of Asia too. But it's changed a lot. I would say the neighborhood definitely has gone through a lot of changes, and at the same time, people are very like determined to keep the culture that had made the Mission District or places like the Mission really rich and rich in culture.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Sorry, I'm like at a loss of words, but yeah, I would say people just still keep trying to resist gentrification as best as they can, and
Yeah.
they do it pretty well.
Hmm. That's good. Nikki wants to know if there's a Salvadorian color associated with death, like black here, white in some parts of Asia, etc. I think she wants to add that to her comic.
Mm, hmm, that's a good question. Personally, I'm not sure. Um, I personally would use black myself. Um, I think I used that a lot when it came to also understanding relationship to my family's like heritage too, since I still don't know too much about like where our ancestors also came from specifically, like in terms of our relationship to like um indigeneity, blackness. And I think the blackness also kind of represents like a void, like at the same time.
Mm.
Thank you.
All right, panel three.
And I apologize if I'm moving like at a turtle's pace, Tom. So for the third panel, I have like a couple of questions that I can offer for a prompt.
Okay.
How do you or your family members reconcile with being separated from your family's first home? The other question is, are there scents, tastes, sounds, accents that ignite a sense of joy and comfort for you or your family?
Uh, you didn't use the word spark. You put yes,
Yeah.
spark. Okay. There, I put that in the chat. Everybody, a lot of people are saying they like this pace. So there you go.
Let's see. Hmm. Yeah, let me think about that for a moment.
Mm.
Do you want to include both sides of my family?
Do they do cumbia in Guatemala?
Yeah, I'm pretty positive. Yeah, cumbia actually originated in Colombia,
Uh,
but it just yeah, like all music genres, like it just travels across borders and everybody gets their hands on it and creates their own versions of cumbia, I would say. Let's see, for something I always talk about when I'm referring to like joy for being half Guatemalan is remembering how often my grandmother would stop at almost every other like bed of flowers or just like a bush that has like flowers blossoming during springtime, and she would tell me the name of each of the flowers. And whenever I try to remember what it was like to travel to Guatemala and to be in that part of Central America, I just remember it being just very verdant, like lush green everywhere. Something that yeah, that personally sparks joy for me. And I think for my elders too. My grandparents like or at least my grandpa, he still does a lot of gardening and he's like in his 90s right now.
oh, that's wonderful.
So maybe I'll draw like a poppy or two to show some love for California. It's one of my favorite flowers. Mm. See, this might be more of like a collage of different scents, but I'm gonna try to include what we would call a pupusera, like a chef, like a female chef, like making pupusas
Oh yeah.
from one of my dad's favorite restaurants.
Do they do it on large ceramic sort of globes and or flat surfaces?
Like a grill.
I'll wait for the drawing, I guess.
I still need to learn how to make it, but I feel like I can kind of cheat my way by saying like, oh, I know how to like I'm making it by like drawing the person making the pupusa.
Mhm. Is it cornmeal?
I don't know how to translate masa unless somebody else knows how to in in the workshop.
I'm pretty sure that's
But
cornmeal.
yeah, it's definitely well, it's actually rice based.
Oh, and somebody
Mix
said,
nixtamalized corn or rice.
huh,
I like that. Nixtamalized corn or nishta.
I need to look. Oh, Sarah goes corn for a tortilla company.
That's so awesome.
That's great.
Okay. Okay. I think for the sake of time, I'll just draw like some like steam emanating from the grill.
Oh yeah, look at that. Better than San Francisco fog.
We actually have like a name for the fog up here. The fog is usually named or called Carl the Fog.
Carl the fog?
Yeah. Somebody made a Twitter account titled Carl the Fog, and he just makes these sassy updates about how terrible it is when it's when it's like beautiful, like sunshiny weather. And he's like, I can't wait to come back. I'm just on vacation right now.
Oh, it seems like Onita knows about it as well. Well, let's go find that in the chat. Or,
Oh, I didn't know that. And Instagram too.
oops. Oh yeah. Well, let's put it in the chat. Oh wow. Whoa, it is foggy. And Eli's right. It's Carl with a K. A lot of these people
Yep.
know about Carl the fog. Oh my gosh.
Same.
Yeah. Couple images of sunlight. I think they're having fun with this, but oh my gosh. Oh my. So foggy. Holy cow.
All right. Some little quick windows and a quick caption.
Did Carl the Fog really become a book? According to Instagram, it did, but I can't tell if it's a joke. Oh, I'll share the link. It says in 2019 it did. Oh yeah, it is a book.
Oh, that's amazing. I have to check that out.
And it says forward by the Sutro Tower. Oh my gosh. Oh, sorry, Eli. I'll put that in the Zoom as well.
Okay. That's the fourth one. Thanks for being super patient with, again, my turtle speed. Um, the final panel. So, two other questions as well. How do you show gratitude for the place you are currently settled in right now? And what lessons have you learned from this migration story? All right, here we go.
I'll put that in the chat right now. How do you show gratitude for the place you're in now? What lessons have you learned from this migration story?
Mhm. Now I'm trying to like think about what lessons I've learned.
Hmm.
Let's see. I think that there's always a little bit of heartache, always like perpetual homesickness or from some of my relatives. But at the same time, like they really love being here. Like they love being in the Bay Area so much.
Hmm.
Like my dad moved back to El Salvador. That was his plan, I think, for a long time, like to retire and to go back home. But
Uh-huh.
whenever Lawrence and I would get together with him before the baby arrived, he would talk about how San Francisco was his hometown, as if he was like born and raised here. And I feel like he has every right to claim it as his hometown.
How many years was he there all total?
Oh my God. Definitely I would say more than 35
Oh
years.
my gosh. Well, that counts.
Absolutely. Yeah. He was a painter too, and did construction for work. So, um, yeah, like he would tell me stories about like or whenever I would call him, he would tell me where he was working. Um, and he would be really excited just to talk about how amazing the buildings looked like, with like some of the newer construction for downtown San Francisco.
Hmm.
In Oakland too, a little bit in Oakland too. Yeah, my mother, she had a lot of office jobs, so she was in the financial district a lot of the time. So I might try drawing the train, the BART, not Bart Simpson, but the the Bay Area Rapid Transit. It was like one of my favorite things to do growing up. And I used to feel like a sense of pride to see my mom going down there, especially during this time of the year because the decorations for the holidays are just super pretty.
Hmm.
She worked in a building that was just outlined with just Christmas lights. They'll only light up like during December.
That's pretty.
Yeah, I always thought it was super cool that she worked in one of those buildings back then. Okay, I'm not using any reference photos, so I just hope I do justice to the train.
Oh, right. And what's the other? I know there's the BART, but there's another one. in San
Yep.
Francisco, right? What's the other one?
Muni.
Oh yeah.
I might try to yortify the
Mm.
book just to kind of cheat a little bit, but
Yeah, you flatten it a little, add geometric shapes, but it's super cool. And add the checkerboard. I love that subway drawing.
oh, thank you. This workshop is actually giving me ideas on maybe doing a longer form project for for this type of story. I
What's the
never actually considered combining Jort's artistic influence into like objects and other things associated with home, just to
Wow.
just to make it more personal. Let's see. Are you also drawing for this panel, Tom?
I am my while I'm managing the chat, I always just barely get a couple scribbles in. Also, because I really don't have much of a sense of place or heritage, to be honest. I sort of extrapolated a bit and claimed to be from the stars. And
Ooh,
and that the crisp air reminds me of home. So I went a little abstract.
I love that. Yeah, because isn't that proven that we're actually made out of stardust?
Yeah, that's what they say, the same elements. Getting some agreement from the chat about that. Nikki says he me too. Nikki, does that mean that's what you drew? Or Nikki and I keep winding having these commonalities. Oh, look at that. Great mural on the side of that building. When was Yort around? Is it middle of last century or
I believe he was born in like the 1940s, and he passed away in 20 it was really like fairly recent.
I'll look him up.
Like 2016 or something like that. I could be wrong. I'm really bad with remembering dates, but um he's definitely like a man of the 20th century.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna try to draw a little volcano.
Yeah, look at that. He's got a pretty modern website. I'm gonna put that in
Mhm.
the chat as well for people. Hmm. Oh, born in 49, died in 2018. Yeah. Oh. He was the lead vocalist of a hippie rock band
Yeah, I have yet to hear the the music myself, but I learned about that through a friend of mine.
on his website. I put that in the chat as well.
I love that you're dropping all the links. Let's see, I'm actually going to put another landmark. Technically it's not in San Francisco, it's in South San Francisco, but we have this like Christmas tree that lights up if the Niners are doing really well in football season. And during the winter holidays. So a good portion of my home is in South San Francisco as well. I'm gonna draw Sign Hill, or just letter Sign Hill, I should say. Can't fit the whole name, but that's okay. I think we have the idea what it says.
It says that on the hill?
Uh-huh. South San Francisco, the industrial city
Oh,
at
didn't
the
know that.
bottom. Yeah. I would say it's like maybe our version of like the Hollywood sign, but very like a little too wordy, maybe.
Wonder if Carl the Fog ever covers that up. Here in the Northeast, we have Trenton, New Jersey, which has a giant sign that says, uh, Trenton makes, the world takes. It's really pretty off-putting. Don't know how many people know about that sign.
is that speaking to um like co-opting other people's ideas or
Never known, to be honest. I should Google that one. Google binge. It seems that way. It feels that way, but I think it just was a sort of a, I think it was more about manufacturing pride, but um, well, Eli is saying if you bring cardboard down, you can slide down the letters.
Yep.
What do you mean the hill? Are they carved into the grass? Like
Hmm.
trying,
Yeah, there it's
they're
like
concrete, Eli says. They're solid.
uh-huh. Sorry, somebody mentioned Carl the Fog, and I think I'm gonna also just bring him back.
Oh boy, I'd be Carl the Fog. Oh, Hawa is talking about, I think about Trenton. A lot of conversations about place today. Oh, well, that sign in Trenton has been there since 1910, actually 1918. And so, no, sorry, installed in 35, but conceived earlier. The sign, the slogan came from 1910 contest. It does not sound like it was meant to sound as bitter as it does. Um, yeah, Nikki says I'm sidetracked. These are lovely drawings.
Mm, I appreciate that. It's like I want to put something around here near the base of the volcano, but yeah, I'm just trying to think about other things, other landmarks or um sounds that kind of unify all the different parts that make up my family.
Mm.
Hmm. Hmm. Actually, maybe I'll just add a little bit of about a bird, some giant birds.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Great.
Oh,
Someone woke up from her nap.
getting a visitor. Oh, hello.
Let's see. Double checking on time. Do you think we should maybe start wrapping up a little bit, Tom?
Yeah, can we share a few and then let you have the rest of the evening off? Okay. If you'd like to share, raise your hand. I think we only have time for a few. So we'll try and fit a couple in before Breena has to go. Maybe 4 or 5. Well, so we'll start with Alun, go to Marlene, Jen, and Allison, and then see how Breena's feeling. Breena, if you got a moment, try and raise that Zoom hand, but it's probably too late. That's okay. Alun, we'll go to you and I'll give you an option to share. So hang on a second. There you go. Oh, I have to also ask you to unmute. Give me a second about that. There you go.
There we go. Okay, so yeah, if I could share my screen here because I on the computer. I'm really happy with my artwork today, but oh well. So yeah, I didn't have much to say about no real migration. My family has lived in the same house since before I was born, like I said, but yeah, so I grew up in a two-story suburban house in Orange County, California. It was in the middle of an endless sea of tract housing, copied and pasted houses sprawling out in every direction. Uh, I live in Los Angeles now, but my parents still live in the same house in Orange County. Some things have changed. My grandfather's pigeon coop in the backyard is long gone, which is what the dotted lines there are supposed to represent. The front lawn has been replaced by a rock garden, but it's the same house. I don't like Orange County, and I wouldn't want to live there again, but there's something to be said for having a permanent residence you can really call your own, where you can build memories. I like living in LA, but I'm never going to own my own house. And that's just a picture of the apartment building where I currently live. So, so there you go. That's my work. Again,
Thanks.
not much in terms of migration, but oh well.
Thanks, Alun. Classic Southern California story anyway. Thanks. Okay, we'll go to Marlene next. Here we go. Oh, can you?
I should say good afternoon because that's what it is in Australia. My story is about my migration to Australia from Africa, more especially South Africa. And so South Africa from 1948 to 1989 was under the regime of Dutch settlers who came to South Africa and decided after the British to separate people into groups according to the color of their skin. And so I found myself being classified as a person of color, POC. Because of the pressure that we were living under, living little compartmentalized lives, we were sort of feeling undervalued, and we couldn't really live a full life. And when my children were born, especially, and two of them were sort of bordering on teenagehood, things in South Africa escalated very quickly because there was unrest. And Nelson Mandela was in prison at the time. He was one of the leading figures to dismantle apartheid. And we are very grateful to those countries, especially Australia, who put South Africa under pressure to, to rid South Africa of the racism. So the panels I've done are 3 of them, and I thought it might be useful to show just an example of how people of color were impacted by apartheid. You can see a lady sitting next to a bench, not on the bench, next to the bench, on the arm of the bench, where it says Europeans only. So that meant she couldn't sit on the bench or she would be fined by police. And then the other one is where a random guy, also of color, decides to take a break and lean against a tree. But it's the tree has a notification that says, this park is for whites only. So that gives you some indication of what happened. And I've used words and images to demonstrate what I'm trying to say. The second bit is showing the reason why we left South Africa as a couple with our children, obviously because of the racial laws and the pressure that it put not only us but our children under. We wanted a better life for them, free of being discriminated against the way we were as young people. And so we decided to come to Australia, first to Perth, which is Western Australia, and then to the East Coast after that, because there are better opportunities in Sydney. You can probably see us on the edge of the world, going to another part of the world. And Sydney, I represented with the Harbour Bridge, the Opera House. And I am very sensitive to the Aborigines that live here. So I included a bit of their art. For example, you can see over here, this represents a meeting at a pool of people. So that represents people walking across from one little community to the next. And this is the boomerang I used to show going from South Africa, flying across to Sydney. And then the next bit is how we reconciled living in Australia. Obviously, having an accent has its benefits and disadvantages, but we've used it to a point where, we can talk to each other without other people overhearing your conversation, which is quite handy at times. And some of the cultures, especially the food, having influences from, believe it or not, we have British family, Malaysian family, Indian family, and it all is represented in the foods we eat. The gratitude that I show to Australia is my life. I can imagine having a very checkered past with a view, life view, as you can see from the eye there, into making a difference over here. I've done lots of voluntary work in the community, and I'm very aware of homelessness, to which I contributed a fair bit. And so I really thank you very much, Breena, for bringing up this topic. I'm also so impressed with all the other stories that I've read so far. It just makes me realize that, this world has some awesome stories that we can learn from through cartoons. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, those watercolors look so beautiful.
Thanks so much, Marlene.
Thank you.
We'll go to Jen next. Here you go. Hi, Jen.
Okay, sorry about the flip. Good evening, guys. Okay, so Eastern migration patterns. I'll read it and then I was born and surrendered to the state social services in San Diego, California in 1969. My adoptive parents and I lived in La Jolla until I was 1 year old. So, oops. Okay, panel 2. Okay, you can see that. I have no idea of the actual path, but we moved to Ohio when Dad left the Navy to finish med school in Ohio. We visited the Grand Canyon, but I don't remember. Evidently, I saw a lot of national parks that I also don't remember. Okay, there's panel 3. Things I remember about our 4 years in Ohio. Crabapple and pear trees, my sandbox, a white house, a white car, my red tricycle. And weirdly, I do have vivid, I think it's because those are my first memories. So I do still have some vivid memories, and that was like a hell of a long time ago. So what I've learned from all this and my other migrations, friendships don't always migrate. Places have tangible flavors. Memories are impermanent like time. Family is family no matter the place. And migration changes place, but not self.
Hmm.
It's my migration patterns poem or comic.
Thank you. Ugh, there's like a really sweet tenderness with that third panel. I don't know. I love anything where people depict food and just objects that might seem mundane, but they just hold a lot of I don't know, personal significance. So thank you for sharing that story.
Thanks, Jen. We'll go to Allison next. Here we go.
Okay, I made a fold-out piece of paper earlier because I wanted to have this be kind of dynamic. So I won't belabor every single panel that I made because I made a lot of them. But I was drawing what you were saying, Breena. It was very cool. Um, I was born in San Francisco, and this is me at age, I think, 3, looking out the window at the Golden Gate Bridge from our house in Tiburon. But my father was from England. He was from Blackburn in Lancashire, where it's never sunny. It always rains, and it was an industrial town, very run down old cotton mills. And he ran far away to the United States. And my mother grew up in mainline Philadelphia, and that was a stultifying. And so she ran far away, and that's how they met. And so this was a voluntary migration of theirs, but it was running away from something. It wasn't necessarily to something positive. But they kind of converged in California. And somebody asked, where does family start? And when I was originally thinking about this, I was thinking it starts with the caveman, I think. Um, but this prompted an idea for me, where does family end? Because I don't have any children, my brother doesn't have any children, my cousins don't have any kids, my sister does, but both of her kids, it's very likely that they won't have any children themselves. So that's the end of the line kind of thing.
Mhm.
But this has got me thinking about third culture kids, and this is when you grow up in a culture that is not the culture your parents grew up in.
Hmm.
I grew up in Spain. My dad's business took him to Madrid, and they lived there for 25 years. Um, but I went to school in Madrid and then to university in Birmingham, and then made my own migration from the UK to Boston. So I don't really feel like I'm from anywhere, but I also feel like I'm incredibly privileged. It's a lot of people have to move, but it's not a choice to do that. And then gratitude for the place I'm in now, which is Davis, California. Um, it's by being in it and especially drawing the birds. Anyway, thank you, Breena. This was amazing, and I'm really, really glad I was able to make it today. Thanks. Okay.
Oh my God, that was super impressive that you made like a mini comic. I was not expecting that, like that fast work. That's amazing.
Thanks, Allison. We'll check in with Edgar next. Here we go.
Well, thank you for the inspiration tonight, and I gave me a chance to recall many memories. So this is my comic. I call it "My Journeys Between South Carolina and Washington, D.C." And we begin in Washington, D.C. My father, Ed Jr., was born in Washington, D.C. in May 1927. My mother, Jean, was born in May 1926 and moved from Rock Hill to find a job in Washington, D.C. Ed Jr. and Jean met over top secret documents at the Washington Navy Yard. I'm returning this 800-page top secret document. Okay, I'll count all the pages. Would you like to go out? I'll think about it. They did and got married 1 year later in June of 1952. My dad was reassigned to Charleston Navy Yard in South Carolina where Edgar III was born in January of 1954. There's me, Gaga Goo Goo. Then the three of us moved back to D.C. in June of 1954 in time to live through Hurricane Hazel. Then my younger brother Fraser was born in September 1957, and I remember us going to Rock Hill, South Carolina in the 1960s and 1970s. And there's a big country farm breakfast cooked by my cousin Nanny Craig, who was married to cousin Harvey. And here we have ham, eggs, country biscuits, hash browns, all of it fresh. Then here's the big country farm supper, fried chicken, mashed potatoes and gravy, and black-eyed peas. And for dessert, fresh baked apple pie. And when you'd walk around outside from their farmhouse, at night I could see a billion stars up above, to steal a line from the Eagles song. There's the little house, Harvey's house, with the porch swing in the front. I never forgot the stars, the fresh food, and riding Cousin Sherry's mini bike. I went back in 2019 after many decades to see our South Carolina relatives at Christmas. Then I went back in 2022 for a memorial service for my cousin Sue. I will hope to go back again, but even though I've lived around the world, I never forget my experiences in South Carolina and Washington, D.C. And there I am, EFR the 3rd in December 2023. So thank you for this wonderful opportunity.
Fantastic,
Thank you
Edgar.
for sharing.
Really great. Thank you, Edgar.
You bet. Thank you, Tom.
I think we're going to get Edgar's entire life story sooner or later. Thought we're all going to piece it all together. So many
Yes,
great.
yeah, I think so. You're helping me to do that.
Nice. Thanks, Edgar. Nikki, you're all set.
Hi everyone from New Zealand, where it's very hot today. And I love this. When I Googled up, I didn't know anything about Guatemala. When I Googled up except for the clothes are so colourful. And when I Googled up the artwork, it's like, wow, what a colour bomb. So I've kind of tried to do it in Guatemalan-ish kind of colours. So when I was a child, we lived in an A-framed house that Dad built by the sea, and that was on Broadsea Ave. But then my mum got sick. She had cancer in her stomach. After they operated, they stitched her up like a football, right down the middle, but she still died. After a bit, he met Janet and liked her enough to get engaged, and we sold the house and moved into town. But now, I always go back to Broadsea Ave when I'm home just to look. It was a happy childhood, but now it's changed. Global warming and sea rising meant they filled in the beautiful beach with a horrible, huge rock wall. And there's no access to the beach anymore at all.
Oh.
Where I live now, I can still see the sea and walk on the beach, and it feels like home. And I'm so grateful you did this, because it suddenly made me understand why living by the ocean is so important to me, and why being able to walk on the beach and get my feet in the water is so important to me. And it's because of that first house and the associated happiness that was. So thanks a lot. I didn't know what to expect from today. And it's been interesting listening to everybody's stories. It's like quite amazing. So thank you, dear.
Thank you, Nikki. I really especially love that last panel. Like, it's so simple, but like you really captured that mood so well. I really feel resonant with that, as being in a city that's like right next to the Pacific Ocean. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, awesome. You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Nikki. Thanks so much. We'll go to Michaela next. Here we go.
Hi, everybody. I did some pages about leaving Germany, and it's a serious cartoon, but I promise it's not entirely a bummer. So the first page is your first home, and the second page is why I left and a little bit of what I brought with me. And these are images from Dr. Caligari. It's a film from the 1920s. And then how I felt about being separated.
Hmm.
You know, I didn't see it as a loss. And then finally what I do to be grateful, I teach and I do research and I try to be there for my students.
Wow.
So that was it gave me some really powerful impulses. I don't know where the first two pages that just came out like nothing. Very
Huh.
powerful prompts. And thank you for the oh, and I drew a couple of sketches of our visitor. I don't know if you can
Thank you.
you know, and the way you drew yourself, right? What I could catch of it. So thank you very much, and also for the calm way that you did this. It was really wonderful. Thank you.
Oh, I appreciate that. And that last image you drew of yourself, like, ugh, that's I don't know how else to describe it other than like I really felt your like the energy and the brushstrokes. If you that needs to be like an author portrait whenever you publish a book.
Thanks so much, Michaela. We'll go to Abby next. Hey there, Abby.
Hello. Thank you, Breena, for this prompt. I was really excited about it. Can
Whoa.
that be seen? Okay. So here's my comic. My mother immigrated to America from Honduras at age 18, landing in Chicago. She's lived in America for 52 years now, but her love for her home has not changed. She's told me many stories about her childhood. And here's a note. My dad's side came from Poland long ago, but I don't know that much about that side. So this is me kind of like stretching from Honduras to Chicago. And then I have like a little heart from all the places I've lived since then. Currently, I'm in Ohio, but also based out of Georgia. And then this next page, I didn't really do a 4-panel structure, but Sue. Can I read this at the same time? Yes. Like many immigrants, my mom moved to seek opportunity and escape the troubles in her country, the US always being this idolized land of hope. And that's my mom kind of running up this hill, indicated as the US seeking the almighty dollar, union jobs, catering, temp work, office jobs. And then the last panel. I can tell she feels more connected to home when she speaks Spanish. I've been practicing so we can talk together. And this is her and I on the phone. Hola, mamá. Hola, mi princesa. ¿Qué estás haciendo? I hope we can visit her home together one day so I can see my roots and feel her love of home. Thank you.
Thank you, Abby. Like that first panel was so amazing for you to like draw yourself like at a large scale and show how you were able to connect your lineage literally with your feet. What a
You.
really smart way to like show that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
Thanks, Abby. Thanks so much. We'll see you later. I'm gonna go to Gail because Susanna just disappeared out of the window. We'll go to Susanna when they come back. Here we go.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. This was great. I really love seeing everybody's artwork and hearing. Oh, do you want to go back to Susanna?
No, it's fine.
Okay. I love seeing everybody's artwork and hearing your stories. So here, my first two panels are of the first. My earliest memories are when I was 3 years old and my family was living in Jackson Heights, Queens, in a two-family house. I remember riding the tricycle in our kitchen. I'm gonna add color later because our kitchen cabinets were turquoise, and I have a very clear memory of that. And our neighbors had a big Great Dane that I used to ride as though it were a horse. So That was that. But then after that, I went back in time to my Zeta and Baba emigrating from Poland to the US. I have no idea what Lodz, Poland looks like, so I just drew some buildings, and it looks a lot like the Bronx in my drawings. They moved to the Bronx, and they had my mom. That was their story. And my dad came from Argentina, and he became an optician. This is him as an optician. And then we ended up moving to a single family home that we owned in Fresh Meadows, Queens. And I kind of hated it, but looking back, it was idyllic compared to I'm a teacher, and compared to what where a lot of my students live. Wow, I really had it pretty good. I didn't realize it. Anyway, these are me and my sister's bicycles and our legs because we are running out of frame. Thank you so much. This was really fun.
Amazing, Gail. Thanks so much. We never realize how good we've got it, right? Okay, we'll go to Susanna next. Here we go, Susanna.
Hey, hi. I'm Susanna. I'm here with my mom, and I did a whole deep history of my family, which I've been researching a lot. This is one of the more Baroque things I put together, but my family originates from I guess it was Israel, and then it became Israel and Judah in circa 920 BCE. And then there was King Solomon, and then there was the Assyrians, and then everybody scattered in the diaspora. And I'd also been reading recently about this recently in the past year, they had discovered that all the Ashkenazi Jews were traced back to a founder event, which was discovered under a parking lot in Germany. And it's this town where they dug up, this is the synagogue in the, oh my gosh, I thought I wrote, Effort. And they dug up these teeth, and they were able to realize, oh, the founder event was some kind of pogrom. And buried deep under this parking lot were the history of the Ashkenazi, who had, been part of the 10 tribes of Israel that I'm trying to show in the diaspora, but somehow they all ended up here. And so my family can be traced to Hesse, and these are the footprints of all the pogroms that would scatter them around. So they went through Speyer, which is where I get my last name, which is Spear, and here's Vilna and Osirian. And then they're settling in Eastern Europe, which is how why I have like light skin. Eventually my, family like mixed with Europeans and was less Middle Eastern looking. And meanwhile, all these pogroms. So here they are immigrating. This is the immigration boat to the US. But I'm putting the Ark of the Covenant here, the Indiana Jones version. I didn't know how else to draw it. And ethics, and then the menorah and matzah, so Hanukkah, Passover. The tribes, my family made notions in Europe, or sold notions and sold shoes. And then being separated from my family, I kind of interpreted the post October 7th world, and realizing how much anti-Semitism was there, and becoming very aware of it, and dealing with a lot of gaslighting, misinformation, and a lot of erasure. And I'm fighting it with what I'm reading. I've been kind of crash coursing myself in a lot of things about being Jewish and deep history that I didn't know. And I'm also having to, unfortunately, block people who harass me online and unfriend people. And, while dealing with gaslighting and bullying. And then this final frame is how I'm ultimately what I'm trying to bring to how I'm trying to reconcile everything. And so I put a Yuval Harari quote in, and I put the logo for the Society of Professional Journalists, since I'm a journalist and I'm trying to use my journalism skill. I also try to share experience, like, talk about my friends in Israel who are Mizrahi Jews who are from like Iraq and Egypt, and talk about the pogroms in northern Africa and the Middle East, because those stories aren't told as much, and explain fact check, get to try to work on misinformation. These are sometimes people will message me saying, thank you for helping me understand what's going on better. And this is how I try to just express gratitude by education, clarification, verification, and I guess learning more as I go along. And I've also gotten much better at setting boundaries. And yeah, just really, and I wrote the Ark of the Covenant here, ethics, and that's it. Sorry, that was kind of scattered, but I tried my best. Mom, do you want to share yours?
No, I don't.
Okay. Well, here's
Thanks,
Mom.
Susanna.
Not
Thanks
sharing.
so much. All right. Thank you, Susanna. We'll go to, we got time for two more, Breena. We have Mishka and Elias. Okay.
Nikki said hi.
Hi. Can I share screen again or no?
I think so. Give it a whirl.
Boo boo. Oh yeah, I should have tried first.
You didn't chime in about the fog. I wonder if you were keeping quiet on purpose.
Oh no, I just am not fast enough on the keyboard, but yeah, it's Carl the Fog. Look at me wearing a hat over here in Berkeley. It's so cold. All right. So I only did 3 panels because there's a lot more story to tell. But so my parents and brother moved in with my mom's family after he was born. There were 8 people in this small townhouse, western part of Prague, but my mom and grandfather did not get along. So they moved to a Soviet-style block house on the western tip of what was then Czechoslovakia, a town called Osh. So the next one was about why they left. So my dad, born in 35 before the war, he had access to his grandfather's library where he looked at these books from around the world and longed to just roam freely to all the other places. The official story for why they left, though, were the communists. I censored this for you.
PG-13.
When I was about 10 years old, you would walk into our townhouse in Southern California and look up the stairs, and there was this huge sign that said, bleep, communism, really big.
Oh, wow.
There is a lot of, anyway. So, and then this is the next part of the story, is that my parents, even though my dad had already escaped and come back, they were just going to Vienna. And they're like, I'm just going to Vienna, commies, to visit my cousin with my kid, gonna show off my kid. And they only had that one suitcase. So people who've seen other parts of this immigration story know that I went back later and I had a suitcase, and a lot of my suitcase was occupied by the frosted flakes I was bringing. So I'm excited to connect these 2 stories with the suitcase, but that'll come later. Thank you.
Breena, that's awesome. Yeah. I mean, Mishka, that's awesome. It's like we're getting your whole history too over the course of all of these Friday night workshops. So yeah, you have
So
to
I'm
piece
here. You're
graphic
gonna
novel.
wrench the memoir out of me, man.
Okay. All right. 2 quick. We'll go to Elias. Here we go. And then we'll go one more after that. Here we go.
I don't know how well you'll be able to see it because I just did pencil. But my first home looked like red sunsets behind tall trees. It sounded like a billion insects singing. Figure out where all my panels are. I always wanted to live in the city, though.
Bless.
I like to go home in summertime and smell the cornfields, see the mist that hangs over them at night, and watch the fireflies.
Mhm.
You can move to a brand new place and learn over years to know it intimately. Could I do it again?
Hmm.
Thanks.
Elias, was that Oklahoma? Where was that dart?
Well, I just try to put it in a random place.
Oh, okay. That was specific. Okay. Beautiful. Thanks.
Just want to quickly say you're a very talented writer. That was so beautiful.
Thank you.
All right. Our last one will be Santana. Let's see if they want to come on screen. And if they don't, let's see. Here we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
So wait, let
Oh,
me.
yeah, the blur might be. There we go.
Okay. So I also did pencil sketches, but I tried to use some color. So in the first panel, I drew what I remember of home, combining both present and past. So like in the situation of the house, it's a structure that my father built back in the day. Part of our tradition growing up is as a male, after you are circumcised, you have to build your own house. You are no longer allowed to live in a parent's house. And so my dad had like a tiny mud house. And looking at the landscape, at the bottom, this is where we'd get to fetch water. And then we had some tiny fish ponds. And so this is what I pictured my past as. In the second panel, looking at what motivated my migration, I just went to the generic bill money. And so our largest currency is 1,000 Kenyan shillings. And this is my flag. And I came here to study. So hence the graduation cup and the book. I also decided to include my family since they are a major support system that I had. So they also are reason why I came here. And then for my third section, I do not remember what the prompt was, but what I wrote down is I think it was how we connect with family. And so I thought about two ways. We do a lot of WhatsApp calls and gossip on the phone for over 3 hours, especially with my father. And so that's why I sketched this. And I drew the cross because I was raised in a Christian family and the topic keeps coming up. And so this is also part of the conversation that we have once in a while. And then for my final panel, I think the question was how we connect with where we are currently. And so I have a lot of, oh, okay, so that's centered. So I thought about my position as an international student. And so I drew the tiny characters to represent the different people I have met in the past year. Hence the I also felt the need to include pizza because it's a huge thing in America. And the Target logo at the top. Now I'm a Target girl. And also close proximity to the water and a couple of trips I have done in the past. So yeah, that's my 4 panels.
Wow.
I love that. Also big relate with that WhatsApp motif.
Time for one more, Breena.
Let's see. I think I'm just trying to hear if she's calling me, my baby, but I think she's doing fine right now.
Okay.
So yeah, one more. It's fine with me.
Lentil Tricky, are you there? Okay.
Yes.
And then
Hey,
we'll close out. Last one.
can I share my screen?
Yeah, you should be able to.
Cool. How do I do it? Oh no, this one?
That I don't know.
Oh no, it might be hard. Well, let me try one more thing. If it doesn't work, that's fine.
Are you on a tablet or computer?
I drew it on a tablet and then I give up.
You give up? All right. Well, post it
Yeah,
on.
I don't want to take time.
I'll put in the chat one last time. This is a good reminder for everybody to share it online. Thanks so much, though. I'm glad to see you. It's been a while.
I know it has been good to be back. Great, great presentation. All of it was awesome.
All right, I'm going to focus on Breena and we'll close out. Breena, thank you so much. My gosh, this was really kind of deep and powerful. Like, and it's really, it's so wonderful to be able to like see the tapestry more and more and more and more, right? Of everybody and how everybody's connected. Just be aware of so many stories and so many histories and so many ways of being in the world, so many ways of being put into the world, so many histories. Anyway, I'm just really grateful for this. This was really wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation. Sorry if you saw me like making like a weird face. There was a monster like mosquito in here.
Oh, I thought your baby made a dump. That's what
Not yet. Thank you, Tom, for
All
inviting
right.
me again. Like,
Thanks so much.
This amazing evening.
Tell us about anything that's going on. You can even, tell us about your free school or anything you got in the works or anything else.
Honestly, not too many things in the works besides our small press Laneja House announcing the Kennard Awards. If people want to follow us to learn all of these folks we want to center in the comics community, I can just type in really quick our at on the chat.
There it is.
I also work with my spouse who's done another workshop with y'all in the past, Lawrence Lindale. And this is our small press Laneja House. And the Kennard Awards is named after Rupert Kennard, amazing, dope, queer Black cartoonist. And yeah, a lot of people we wanted to center for this year's awards are also doing like similar work we're doing, or they're just doing a lot of the heavy lifting for organizing amazing comic shows in different parts of the US. But yeah, that's the one thing I could remember that's like
awesome.
Super recent.
Okay. I love what you guys do there. I'm going to ask everybody to unmute and just give you a round of applause and say thank you for being here. Thanks for staying a little long, and thanks for sharing such a generous
thank you.
Generous prompt and series of prompts and got us all telling our stories. Please share in the chat, or please share in media.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Thanks
Really
for your
generous.
vulnerability, everyone.
Great job.
Yay. Thank you.
Right. Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you for sharing in the chat also with the comments you offered. That's very wonderful.